My name is Mortaza Kazmi, and today we're going to continue with the congressional debate series. This time we're on part two, continuing to talk about some of the congressional debate rules, regulations, just things to think about. So right now on this page, I've written some ideas of what to do before, during, and after a tournament. So let's start with before the tournament right here. So when you know that you're about to go to a tournament, you should always start off by going to tabroom.com. This is the one-stop shop for everything that you're ever going to need to know about a debate tournament. You can find it on this website. You'll use the search bar. I have a screenshot of tabroom.com right here. Use the search bar to find the tournament that you're going to, depending on what your coach tells you or what tournament you signed up for. And then once you find your tournament, just press the name of the tournament. It'll appear in the search results. Once you press that, you'll find a lot of information. Most of it is not particularly important to you, but as a congressional debater, you want to go to more information, rules, a congressional debate section within the tournament's tab room page itself. You just navigate through some of the subheaders there, and it'll be pretty easy to find. There, you want to be able to find information about the tournament-specific docket. As we discussed in the previous lecture, each tournament can have its own docket, so you want to make sure that you're debating the right items. As soon as you find this docket, either by yourself or with the help of your teammates, then you can start discussing this docket. What are the bills or pieces of legislation that are going to be debated in this round, in prelims, semifinals, finals, whatever the case may be? Start talking about the pros and cons on each side. Start talking about impacts. Just start planning out with the rest of your teammates to get a good grasp of what the debate might look like, what potential arguments may be used, and obviously to prepare for the speech you would make in round. And that leads us to the third part, which is to prepare a speech. Now, I'm going to make a bunch of different videos to discuss this topic, but there's just a couple of key pointers to have. One is that you always want to start with the first item that will be debated, because that's always going to be debated. Obviously, it's the first item. Second thing is that you want to prepare for both sides, especially for that first item. That's because you want to establish good precedents early on. You want to be one of the first few speeches in the first piece of legislation. That gives you name recognition, and it also helps you get speeches that you want later down the line. By preparing for both sides, you'll be able to stand up in support of the legislation and against the legislation and increase the chance or likelihood that you're going to get a speech. And finally, just practice giving these speeches with timings. And the timings I've written over here: 30 seconds for the intro, a minute 10 for each argument. Of course, in Congress, you usually have 2 arguments per speech. And finally, 10 seconds for the conclusion. And that's a 30-minute speech. So ideally, that's what you're going to do to prepare your speeches. But that's all before the tournament. Now, what happens during the tournament? So we're going to first find out which room you are in. There's going to be a posting section in any tournament that you go to. So basically go to the area where there's a lot of students crowding or where there's a lot of papers posted on a wall. That's usually what we call the posting section and part of a debate tournament. Look at the room that you're in, find your name. Usually in a prelim session, it's a bit hard, so you're going to have to look pretty closely. Once you find your name and what room you're going to be going to, arrive to that competition room. I'd recommend 10 to 15 minutes before the round starts. You don't want to be late. The reason being is because you can talk about the docket and some other things with your fellow competitors. This is also a great time to get to know people on your circuit, especially if you're starting off as a freshman. You'll have to spend almost 4 years with these same people. So it's better to get to know them early rather than later. So now this is all right before the round starts. Now the round starts. There's a couple of things that are going to happen. First, there will be PO elections. For right now, as a novice, don't worry too much about that. Just know that that's how they're going to elect a presiding officer for the entire round. The second thing is docket nominations and approval. So that, as the name suggests, is going to create a docket for that particular round. Now, usually tournaments like local tournaments will give some subset of the TFA docket. And so you can choose the docket or the order by yourself. So for example, out of a range of 1 to 10, you can choose to speak on item 5, then 3 and 2, and that's the docket for your round. But other tournaments, most notably TFA State, have a locked docket, meaning that the docket that's provided on the website is to be debated in that exact order. So just, look at the rules of each tab room, each tournament site to make sure that, you are allowed to create a docket that is changeable or whatnot. Next, the debate will start after you've gotten approval for the docket, after the PO announces that I officially call this session into the order, then the debate starts. So you start going with pro speeches, negation speeches, and continue, and then eventually you vote on the item. There's two ways that you end up voting on an item. Either one person calls for the previous question motion, which you can learn about more in Robert's Rules of Order on the NSDA website. There's a helpful website that gives a lot of these orders and motions and what that means. Or everyone in the round has spoken, or usually there's some tournaments that say after 3 consecutive speeches on the same side, it automatically moves to previous question. It just depends. Just again, consult the rules. And step 5, just repeat steps 3 and 4 until the docket or time has run out in the round. And again, all of these interactions are governed by Robert's Rules of Order. Actions are taken by motions. And like I mentioned before, there's a list of these motions on the NSDA website if you search up Congressional Debate Motions on Google. Yes, and covered pro-con speeches. Key thing, after the authorship speech and the first negation speech, you're going to have 4 questioning blocks. After every other speech, you're going to have 2 questioning blocks. And of course, this resets as a new item is debated. So the next item, for example, let's say you finish on item 5 and now you start debate on item 3, then the first 2 speeches for item 3 will also have 4 questioning blocks, followed by 2 questioning blocks for any other speech in that item. And there are 2 types of questioning blocks, again, direct and indirect questioning. We're going to talk a little bit about these questioning styles, what they mean, how to use them later in another video. But for right now, just know to check tab room to see what type of questioning. Typically now you're going to see a lot more direct questioning, but indirect is possible, especially in prelims rounds at local tournaments. Finally, when the round is over, always thank the PO and judges as you leave the chamber. They obviously put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the chamber ran smoothly or taking time out of their day to judge your speeches. So you should be appreciative of that. Finally, you've completed one of your first debate rounds. So congrats for that. After the tournament, what are we going to do? First of all, take a break. Debate can be really tiring and stressful. So make sure you drink water, eat food, rest up a little bit before you get too stressed about what's going to happen in the next round. Again, wait by the posting section to come and see if anyone comes up with new results and, see if you get advanced to the next round. The most important thing I can say after the round is that you got to reflect. First of all, write what you did well, what you didn't do so well, and places to improve. It always keeps you grounded to know what the answers to those questions are. It's important to not assign blame on others or compare yourself to others. Just focus on what you can do. Have that growth mindset. It's really easy to say that the PO hates me or some of the other excuses that I've written down here. But at the end of the day, you are the competitor, so you can try your best and make sure that you have done all that you can in your power to have a good round. If the judge screws you over, it happens from time to time, even to the best debaters in the country. All you can do is move on. But if there's a certain critique that is consistently coming up from all judges, maybe that's a sign that you need to improve in that certain area. Finally, focus on those weak points and practice more. And again, that's why it's so helpful to write these things down so you know where your weak points are. You know exactly where to practice. If you know where to practice, you know where you can improve for next time. And that'll help you a lot when you're trying to get better and better with each speech, with each round, and each day. And the final thing I wanted to say, the more effort you put in, the more you will improve and increase your likelihood of tournament success long-term. Don't think of tournament success as linear because it's not. It's not that the more effort you put in, immediately you're going to see the fruits of that labor. But over time, certainly the more effort you put in, the better your results will be. It's not going to be immediate. It may not be super fun when you're losing the first couple of rounds, but I hope that you guys put in that effort regardless, and hopefully it'll turn out well for y'all. All right, that was the end of this speech, or the end of this lecture. On the next lecture, we'll talk about questioning in Congress. Thank you for your time, and this is Murtaza Kazmi signing out.